The convoy entered soul space looking like a long line of wounded animals searching for a quiet place to die. Their ships drifted more than they flew. Metal hulls covered in burn marks, cracked plating, and broken lights that flickered like tired eyes. For the last 50 days, the Veskari had watched their vessels fail one by one, first their engines, then their food processors, then their life support systems. It felt like the galaxy itself wanted them erased. But for Veskari Elder Seru Dal, the saddest part wasn't the failing machines. It was the silence. Every time they had arrived at a new star system seeking help, the same message repeated on every channel. Turn away. No docking permitted. No entry. No support. Sometimes the message came with warning shots. Sometimes it came with the cold image of a planetary council signing a decree that the Veskari were to be treated as high-risk biological hazards. But now, as their exhausted convoy limped into the territory marked on maps as Sol, Elder Seru did not hear a warning. He heard something far more confusing. He heard a human voice. This is the Earth Defense Network. Identify yourself and state your emergency. Seru almost didn't answer. His people were used to all responses ending in rejection. Still, he gathered his strength and leaned toward the cracked console. This is Elder Seru Dal of the Veskari Ark Convoy. We are refugees. We request temporary shelter, or at minimum, non-lethal escort out of your borders. His voice trembled. He hated that. Leaders should sound strong, but he was tired in ways words could not describe. The line stayed silent for a long moment. The Veskari crew held their breath. Then the human voice returned, female, calm, steady, firm. Veskari convoy, you are cleared to enter secure approach lane A7. Prepare for medical support teams. We will assist. Seru stared at the screen. Several bridge officers looked at him as if he had misheard. Assist? No one had said that word to the Veskari in almost a year. Meanwhile, aboard the Earth Orbital Defense Station Argent Halo, Commander Lyra Holt watched the convoy's sensor data appear on her main screen. She had seen damaged ships before, but not like this. The Veskari vessels were barely holding together, like old bones about to collapse from one wrong movement. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Ramos, stepped forward. Ma'am, are you sure? The Galactic Concord has them on a containment list. If we help them, we could face sanctions. Lyra didn't look away from the screen. Lieutenant, look at those ships. If we turn them away, those people die. Ramos frowned. Yes, but there is no but. Not in my command, Lyra said. We do not watch suffering and pretend we don't see it. Her voice wasn't angry, just absolute. It carried the same tone she used when ordering rescue operations after asteroid strikes or solar flares. Humanity had learned across centuries of hardship that compassion was a kind of strength, and Lyra upheld that tradition with pride. Ramos exhaled and nodded. Understood, ma'am. Shall I prepare medical and engineering teams? Already done, she said. Launch them as soon as we have docking alignment. On the Veskari flagship, Seru felt a shudder run through the ship as docking clamps connected. For a moment, panic spread among the crew after all. Many species had assisted them before by dragging them away to be destroyed outside their borders. But then a window opened on the main display. Humans, dozens of them. They wore white and gray uniforms marked with blue medical symbols and silver engineering badges. Helmets shielded their faces, but the tone of their voices carried a warmth the Veskari had not heard in months. This is Earth Medical Team Alpha. We are boarding now. Remain calm. We are here to help. Seru closed his eyes. He wasn't sure whether to cry or thank them or bow. Instead, he simply whispered, "Thank you," though he knew they couldn't hear him. A moment later, the doors hissed open, and human medics entered the flagship. They paused only long enough to scan the air. One medic looked at her wrist screen and nodded. Atmosphere is weak but workable. Let's get to work. She moved straight to a group of Veskari children sitting on the floor of the corridor. Their skin, usually shimmering teal, had faded to a dull grayish blue. They were shivering. The medic knelt, offering them thermal blankets. "You're safe now," she said gently. "We'll take care of you." The children stared at her with wide, fearful eyes. No adult had spoken to them kindly since the exile began. They clutched the blankets like treasure. Meanwhile, engineering teams spread out across the ships. The humans worked with a kind of fast, improvisational energy the Veskari found strange. Humans didn't wait for perfect conditions, they made things work with whatever they had. If a part was broken, they patched it. If a conduit was failing, they rerouted power. If a device was too damaged, they built a new one from scavenged scraps. Veskari technician Mara Tor watched in amazement as a human engineer used spare wiring, a broken console panel, and 2 unused clamps to repair a coolant line that her team had declared beyond saving. "How did you know that would work?" Mara asked. The engineer shrugged. "Didn't know. But worth a shot, right?" Mara blinked. The idea of trying something without being completely certain felt reckless, yet the repair worked. Humanity, she realized, had a strange kind of courage. Back on Argent Halo's command deck, Commander Holt watched medical reports scroll in. Severe malnutrition, oxygen deprivation, radiation burns, failing organ function. She murmured. Ramos approached again, quieter this time. "Ma'am, this isn't just a struggling species. This is a civilization on the edge of extinction." Lyra nodded. "Which is why we'll do whatever we can. But the rest of the conquered, I don't answer to their fear," Lyra said. "Only to what's right." The screen flashed with an incoming message. A Concord representative. Ramos tensed. "Here it comes." Lyra accepted the call. A hologram flickered to life, an alien delegate with 4 eyes, and a voice like scraping metal. "Commander Holt, your actions violate Concord quarantine directives. The Veskari are classified as a threat." Lyra folded her arms. "A threat to whom?" "They're dying. Their plague is dangerous." "Your data is old," Lyra cut in. "Our scanners show no active contagion. They're sick because they've been starving and drifting through space for months." The representative scowled. "You risk your own species for theirs." Lyra's voice hardened. "I protect innocent lives. That is our law." The hologram flickered. "Withdraw your aid immediately, or Earth will face consequences." Lyra leaned forward. "If helping refugees brings consequences, we'll face them. Together." The representative vanished in anger. Ramos slowly exhaled. "Well, ma'am, that was bold." "It wasn't bold," Lyra said. "It was necessary." In the docking bay, Elder Seru watched humans move through the chaos with practiced precision. His people, though frightened, looked lighter, like a heavy weight had been lifted off their shoulders for the first time in months. A human doctor approached him. "Elder Seru?" "Commander Holt. Requests to speak with you aboard Argent Halo." Seru hesitated. "Will your commander judge us?" The doctor smiled. "Commander Holt doesn't judge people for suffering. She helps them." Seru lowered his head in gratitude. "Then I will go. Lead the way." He followed the doctor through a clean, bright corridor toward the command deck. Humans passing by nodded respectfully. None stared. None looked at him with fear or disgust. For a species that had heard so many lies about the Veskari, their kindness was unexpected. When he finally entered the command room, Lyra Holt approached him with a steady, empathetic expression. "Elder Seru," she said softly, "you're safe here. We will shelter your people for as long as needed." Seru's hands trembled. "Why? Every other world turned us away." Lyra met his eyes without hesitation. "Because you needed help, that's enough." Seru had no words. Only a deep, overwhelming sense of relief washed through him, a feeling he thought he had forgotten long ago. For the first time in ages, he believed survival was possible. For the first time since their exile began, the Veskari felt they had found not just safety, but something very close to home. The giant dome on the moon, normally quiet, with only a few research teams, was suddenly full of activity. Engineers fixed air filters, medics carried supplies across long white corridors, and human volunteers helped clean the temporary living quarters. The Veskari watched all of this with quiet wonder. For so long, the galaxy had treated them like a poison. Now they were being treated like guests. Elder Seru walked slowly down one of the habitat's observation halls. The curved glass wall looked out at Earth, glowing blue and white against the dark sky. Beside him walked Commander Lyra Holt. "Your people are recovering," Lyra said. "Our medical reports show improvement every day." Saru nodded. "Thanks to your kindness. Without humanity, we would have drifted until our last breath." Lyra placed her hands behind her back. "We are only doing what anyone should do. We are only doing what anyone should do." Saru smiled sadly, yet no one else did. They stopped in front of a lab door marked Bioanalysis Unit 3. Inside, teams of human and Veskari scientists worked together. Their goal was simple, but heavy with fear: to uncover the truth behind the plague that destroyed the Veskari worlds. Lyra looked at Saru. "Are you ready?" "As ready as one can be," he said. They entered the lab. Screens covered with graphs, chemical maps, and DNA structures lined the walls. At the center, Dr. Hannah Miles, a sharp, calm human scientist, studied a floating hologram of Veskari cellular structures. "Miles," Lyra said, "any progress?" Dr. Miles turned, her eyes tired but bright with determination. "Yes. More than progress. We found something important." She tapped her wrist console, and the hologram zoomed in on a cluster of glowing particles. "This," she said, "is the agent responsible for your so-called plague." Saru stepped closer. "So-called?" Miles nodded. "Because it isn't a natural disease. It's not even a virus. It's a nanobiological construct engineered." Saru's throat tightened. "Engineered? You mean created?" "Yes," Miles said. "This was designed in a lab somewhere. Purpose-built. And it has only one function: to collapse Veskari immune systems. Nothing else." Lyra's jaw clenched. "Someone attacked them. Someone wanted this to happen." Miles nodded grimly. "The signature markers in its design match old Concord military research. Not current old. Classified decades ago. Supposedly destroyed." Silence hung in the air. Saru felt dizzy. "The Galactic Concord made this? Why?" Miles hesitated. "We also analyzed the planets you lost. Satellites detected rare minerals beneath your ice oceans. Minerals useful for advanced starship cores." Lyra understood immediately. "So the plague wasn't a containment failure, it was a land grab." Miles nodded. "The fastest way to claim those resources was to make the galaxy believe the Veskari carried a deadly, unknown contagion." Saru sat heavily on a nearby chair. His skin felt cold. His people had suffered. They had begged for help. They had been chased from world to world, hunted by fear and lies, all for minerals. Lyra placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "Elder Saru, we will reveal this. The galaxy deserves to know the truth. And your people deserve justice." Saru swallowed, voice shaking. "Commander Holt, you risk angering the Concord." "Let them be angry," Lyra replied. "I don't fear them." Later that day, a meeting was held inside Argent Halo's strategy chamber. The lights dimmed as holo displays lit up around a round table filled with human officers, scientists, and a few Veskari advisors. Dr. Miles stood in the center. "The Concord will not want this information released. They will try to stop us from broadcasting it. So we need to secure the data and protect the habitat." Lieutenant Ramos tapped a screen. A map of the Sol system appeared. "We've seen unusual signals near the outer boundary. Concord stealth probes. They're monitoring us." Lyra narrowed her eyes. "Which means they know the Veskari are alive. They may also suspect we discovered the truth." Ramos nodded. "And that means sabotage is likely." The room went quiet. Humanity had faced conflicts before, but going against the Concord, the galaxy's largest political and military union, would be like standing in front of a storm with only a shield and courage. Lyra lifted her chin. "We prepare for intrusion. Full cybersecurity lockdown. Double patrol rotations. Ready defense drones. And most importantly, finish gathering proof. If the Concord wants to silence us, we make sure they fail. Elder Saru watched her with deep respect. Humans confused him. They were a young species in galactic standards, loud, unpredictable. Too bold but also compassionate in a way he had never seen. They were willing to risk everything for strangers. That evening, inside the cybernetics wing of the habitat, trouble began. Human cyber engineer Leo Trenton worked with Mara Tor, the Veskari technician he had met earlier, to secure their data servers. Both were tired but focused. "These Concord codes are old but tricky," Leo said, typing fast. "They're trying to slip through back channels. We block one, they open 3 more. Mara watched his hands move. "Your species uses too much improvisation. It is chaotic." Leo grinned. "It's fun. And it works." But then one of the main screens flashed red. Unauthorized access detected. Source: unknown. Leo cursed softly. "Mara, brace yourself." The lights flickered, consoles buzzed. A surge of corrupted code flooded the system. Mara stepped back. "This is an attack." Leo's fingers danced across the keyboard. "One of their stealth probes must be hacking the habitat. They're trying to erase the evidence." More warnings flashed. "Data purge attempted. Firewall breach. System compromised." Mara's heart raced. "We will lose everything, your work, our truth." "Not today," Leo said. His voice steadied. "Trust me. Trust me." He opened a new command window and began typing a long, improvised command sequence. Mara blinked. "You are writing new code? During the attack?" Leo nodded. "Yep. Humans don't wait for perfect code. We make code that survives." He hit enter. The lights flashed blue. The alarms fell silent. The server core hummed smoothly. Mara stared at him. "What did you do?" Leo wiped sweat from his forehead. "I tricked their system into thinking the data was already erased. So they stopped the attack." Mara shook her head in disbelief. "You created a fake purge?" Leo smiled. "A very convincing one." She let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. "Your species is reckless, but brilliant," Leo chuckled. "We get that a lot." When Lyra arrived to inspect the server room later, she walked through the burnt smell of overheated wiring. "Report." Leo saluted. "Concord attempted to wipe the evidence. We stopped them." Lyra nodded. "Good work. But this confirms they're desperate. They'll likely escalate." Elder Saru stepped forward. "Commander, what will the Concord do next?" Lyra stared out the observation window at the stars beyond the habitat. "They will come in person." 2 days later, her prediction proved true. Long-range sensors detected multiple unidentified vessels drifting toward Sol's outer edge. Too small to be warships. Too quiet to be civilian. Their signatures suggested infiltration-class crafts. Ramos read the data with a frown. "They're sending agents, probably to sabotage the habitat from the inside." Lyra stood tall. "Then we prepare." The following hours were a flurry of human efficiency. Defense barriers activated, patrols doubled, drones armed, airlocks locked, surface sensors sharpened. But the most important step came in the form of a decision from Lyra Holt, a decision that would echo through the galaxy. She turned to her communications officer. "Send a message to all major networks. A public announcement. No encryption." The officer blinked. "Ma'am, public?" "The Concord will hear it instantly." "Good," Lyra said. "Let them." She cleared her throat and began. "This is Commander Lyra Holt of Earth. The Veskari are under our protection. They are not carriers of any plague. They are victims of a biological attack. And humanity will not abandon them." Her message traveled faster than light, reaching thousands of systems within minutes. The galaxy froze in shock. The Concord boiled in anger. And for the first time in their long history, the Veskari felt not like outcasts, but like a people finally being defended. Humanity had taken a stand, and the galaxy was about to react. Humanity's public announcement spread across thousands of star systems like a spark thrown into dry grass. News screens flickered in bars, market halls, transport stations, and war command rooms. Everywhere, Beings of every shape and size watched Commander Lyra Holt's firm face and listened to her steady voice. The Veskari are victims, not a threat. Humanity will protect them. For some, it was shocking. For others, inspiring. But for the leaders of the Galactic Concord, it was a direct challenge, one they could not ignore. Within hours, conquered fleets gathered near the Sol border. Their warships hovered like silent predators, forming a dark line across the stars. Inside Argent Halo, alarms echoed across the command deck. Lieutenant Ramos read the incoming reports. 57 Concord ships detected on the outer edge of the system, more arriving every hour. Lyra stared at the star map. Sol looked small compared to the long wall of red enemy markers approaching. "What are they doing?" she asked quietly. Ramos hesitated. "Waiting. Watching. They might be giving us a chance to surrender the Veskari." Elder Saru, standing near the observation window, felt his heart grow heavy. His people had finally found safety, yet now that safety was under threat. "Commander Holt," he said softly, "your world is in danger because of us." Lyra shook her head. "No, Elder. Your people were wronged. We're not going to let the ones responsible walk free." Saru lowered his head. "Humanity's courage is unexpected." Lyra allowed herself a small smile. "Courage only matters if we use it well." To prepare for the possible attack, humanity launched a project unlike anything they had done before. They called it the Unity Shield. For days, space around the moon filled with movement. Shipyards, usually slow and methodical, operated day and night. Crews from Mars, Titan, Europa, and dozens of Earth cities arrived to help. Massive panels the size of buildings drifted in formation, connected by glowing blue energy lines. The Veskari watched in awe. Humans were building an entire defensive grid in mere weeks, a task that would have taken other species months or years. But what amazed the Veskari even more was humanity's attitude. There was fear, yes, but there was also excitement, teamwork, and a strange human determination to overcome impossible challenges simply because they refused to quit. Inside the Luna Habitat Engineering Bay, Veskari technician Mara Tor worked side by side with human engineer Leo Trenton again. Together, they studied the blueprint for the Unity Shield. Mara pointed to the energy conduits. "Your design needs more efficiency. The shield will overload under heavy fire." Leo nodded. "Yeah, but we don't have the time for a full redesign." "Unless you have something better?" Mara hesitated. Most species dismissed Veskari engineering as outdated or primitive, but humans weren't like most species. "I do have an idea," she said. She reached into her toolkit and pulled out a small crystalline module. "Our ancestors used this for stabilizing deep-sea generators. It converts chaotic energy into balanced waves." Leo stared at the device. "That could smooth out the energy surges and boost shield strength." "These intode, the Fenstein." "Yes," Mara said. "If it works with your tech." Leo grinned. "Only one way to find out." They got to work. After hours of testing, adjusting, and arguing in friendly tones, they finally connected the module to the Unity Shield's main grid. The lights dimmed, flickered, then steadied into a stable, strong glow. Leo laughed. "It works! Mara, this is incredible." Mara smiled, a true, warm smile that she hadn't felt in a long time. "Perhaps humans and Veskari are compatible." Leo raised an eyebrow. "Technologically, you mean?" Her cheeks darkened. "Yes. Technologically." Leo chuckled. "Good, because we're going to need every advantage." Meanwhile, Commander Lyra Holt gathered her highest-ranking officers in the strategy room. Elder Saru and a few Veskari leaders joined as well. A sharp holographic image of the Concord fleet hovered over the table. "They're still holding position," Ramos said. "But more ships arrive every day." Lyra folded her arms. "They expect us to hand over the Veskari. They think we'll get scared." "Ha!" Saru spoke softly. The Concord believes power wins every argument. Then we'll show them something stronger than power, Lyra said. We'll show them unity. Dr. Miles shifted a holo display showing their evidence. We have enough proof to expose the Concord faction responsible for the plague. Once we broadcast it broadly, many member planets will turn against them. Ramos frowned. But the Concord will try to jam the broadcast, which is why we need a distraction, Miles said. Lyra nodded. The Unity Shield will provide that distraction. When they see we're ready to fight, they'll focus on bringing it down. And while they're busy, Miles continued, we'll send the evidence through every known communication network. Once the galaxy sees the truth, the Concord can't hide. Siru's eyes glistened. You are fighting not only for us, but for justice itself, Lyra smiled gently. That's the plan. As the day of confrontation approached, tensions settled over the Sol system like a thick fog. Veskari children played quietly in the habitat halls. Human volunteers brought food, blankets, and books. Engineers checked the Unity Shield again and again, making sure nothing could go wrong. And above Luna, the great glowing barrier continued to grow. On the final night before the expected conflict, Lyra walked alone along a transparent corridor that looked out onto the stars. Elder Saru joined her silently. You look troubled, he said. Lyra exhaled slowly. I keep thinking about the lives we're responsible for. The Veskari, my crew, the civilians on Earth, and the colonies. All of them depend on the choices I make tomorrow. Saru nodded. Leadership is heavy. Lyra laughed lightly. That's one way to put it. Saru looked at Earth shining below them. You know, when we first entered Sol space, I thought you would turn us away. It is what everyone else did. But we didn't, Lyra said. No, Saru replied. Because humanity has something rare. You see suffering, and your instinct is to help, not to judge. Lyra looked at him. Everyone deserves a chance to live without fear. Saru smiled warmly. Commander Holt, whatever happens tomorrow, know this. The Veskari will stand with you. We will not hide behind your shield. We will fight beside humanity. Lyra felt a deep swell of respect. Then we faced the Concord together. The next morning, the confrontation began. Concord warships moved closer, slow, controlled, threatening. Their dark hulls reflected the cold light of distant suns. Inside Argent Halo, the command deck buzzed with reports. Enemy fleet advancing. Unity Shield charging to full strength. Broadcast systems ready. Veskari support units on standby. Lyra stood at the center of it all, calm but fierce. Activate the Unity Shield, she ordered. A deep hum vibrated through every structure in Luna orbit. Bright blue lines lit up in the darkness of space, forming a massive, shimmering dome around the moon. Energy rippled like waves across its surface. Marator watched from the viewing deck, her heart pounding. It is beautiful. Leo Trenton grinned beside her. And powerful. Thanks to you. The Concord ships halted. Then a message appeared on Lyra's screen. Earth, you are harboring dangerous refugees. Turn them over immediately, or face military action. Lyra leaned forward. Her voice was steady, loud, and unyielding. Humanity does not abandon the innocent. We will protect the Veskari. And we will reveal your crimes to the entire galaxy. The reply was instant. So be it. Red lines flashed across the star map. The Concord had fired. Thousands of energy beams slammed into the Unity Shield, lighting up the dome with blinding flashes. The shield shook but held strong, the Veskari energy modules stabilizing every surge. Human and Veskari crews worked together, shouting updates, adjusting power, repairing damage. The habitat echoed with urgent footsteps and distant rumbling. Ramos called out from his station. Shields holding at 80%. Lyra nodded. Good. Begin the broadcast. Dr. Miles hit the command. Sending now. The truth, the engineered plague, the corruption, the suffering spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The Concord realized too late what humanity had done. Suddenly, several of their ships stopped firing. Others began receiving messages from their home planets demanding answers. Confusion spread through the conquered ranks. On the command deck, Lyra smiled. It's working. Elder Saru watched the chaos unfold, his eyes bright with hope. The galaxy sees us. They finally see. And as the shield glowed brightly against the storm of energy, humanity and the Veskari stood as one. The galaxy was changing, and it was only the beginning. The Unity shield glowed like a giant blue sun around Luna, holding firm even as the Concord's attack continued. Each energy blast lit up the barrier with flashes of white and violet. The rumbling echoes traveled through the metal halls of Argent Halo and the Luna Sanctuary habitat. But even under fire, humanity and the Veskari did not break. On the command deck, Commander Lyra Holt watched the star map carefully. Red lines showed enemy fire. Blue lines showed the shield's responses, and between them, a storm of data signals marked the spreading broadcast of the truth. Status? Lyra asked. Lieutenant Ramos read numbers racing across his screen. Shield holding at 60%. But the Concorde is confused, Commander. Their ships are receiving messages, angry messages from their own member planets. Dr. Miles turned from her console. The evidence reached the outer colonies, the trade worlds, even the neutral sectors. The entire galaxy knows the truth now. They know the plague was engineered. Lyra nodded. Good. Keep the broadcast running. Across the observation deck, Elder Siru watched with trembling hands. Not from fear, but from hope. Hope that his people's suffering would not be forgotten. Hope that justice was finally coming. They cannot hide now, Saru whispered. The galaxy sees the truth. Far beyond Luna, the Concorde fleet faltered. Warships stopped firing one by one as their commanders received transmissions from their governments and citizens. Investigate this immediately. Is this true? Why did you hide the truth? Stand down until we understand. The Concorde had always ruled by unity and control. But now, unity cracked. Control slipped. Some ships powered down weapons. A few even turned away. Others remained confused, unsure of who was right, Earth or the Concorde leadership. Inside the Concorde flagship, Grand Strategist Varian paced in anger. His 4 eyes glowed with frustration. How did this happen? He snapped. They were supposed to be feared, not believed. An officer trembled. The evidence was too strong, sire. The humans broadcast everything. Varian slammed a fist against the control panel. Then destroy them. If Earth falls, the truth dies with them. But even as he gave the order, multiple captains refused. Sir, we cannot fire on a world that protected victims. Sir, our home planet demands full investigation. Sir, we will not attack civilians. One by one, ships broke formation. The Concorde's power was crumbling. Back at Luna, the Unity shield trembled under another heavy blast. Marator and Leo Trenton worked frantically in the engineering control room, surrounded by sparking cables and flashing diagnostics. Shield down to 40%, Leo shouted. If it drops below 10, the barrier collapses. Mara grabbed a stabilizer unit. We must reroute power through the auxiliary grid. That'll overload the conduits, Leo warned. Better broken conduits than a broken shield. Mara argued. Leo gave a breathless laugh. Can't argue with that. Together, they pulled open a panel and fused the Veskari wave module directly into the auxiliary grid. Sparks flew. Lights flickered. And then, the shield brightened again, stronger, more stable. Mara let out a long breath. It is working. Leo smiled. Human Veskari engineering. A perfect match. For the first time in a long while, Mara laughed. On the command deck, Lyra watched as more Concorde ships powered down. Some even sent encrypted messages. We are standing down. The truth must be heard. We request the evidence packet for our archives. We will not support the guilty. Ramos raised his head. Ma'am, they're abandoning the attack. Not all, but many. Dr. Miles nodded. The stronger the truth spreads, the weaker their control becomes. Lyra exhaled in relief. Good. Keep monitoring. But then a new alarm sounded. Ramos stiffened. Commander. The Concorde flagship is charging its main cannon. Lyra looked sharply at the screen. The flagship's weapon was enormous, a planet cracker-class cannon. Not meant for small targets. Meant for cities. They mean to shoot through the shield, Ramos said. One blast could punch a hole straight into Luna's surface. Siru's heart clenched in fear. They want to make an example. To silence the truth forever. Lyra clenched her fists. Not today. She opened a channel to all human and Vescari ships. This is Commander Holt. All units. Prepare counterstrike formation. We're taking down that cannon. The Unity Defense Fleet. The proud but small collection of Earth, Mars, Titan, and Luna vessels moved into formation. They were fewer in number and smaller in size than the Concord giants, but they had something the Concord didn't: purpose, unity, and the truth on their side. Vescari support ships joined the formation. Their designs were old, their hulls worn, but their pilots flew with determination. They had been running for so long. Now they finally stood their ground. Ready weapons, Lyra ordered. Ramos locked targeting systems. Flagship cannon charging to 80%. Lyra raised her voice. All ships. Fire on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. Hundreds of beams shot across space. Blue, white, gold, and green streaks lit up the darkness as the Unity fleet focused all fire on the flagship's cannon. The Concord flagship fired at the same moment. A blinding white blast tore toward the Unity shield. Leo shouted into the engineering comms. Brace for impact! The cannon hit the shield with a thunderous wave of energy. The entire barrier rippled like water struck by a stone. Alarms blared. Panels shook violently. Then, the Unity fleet's concentrated fire hit the flagship cannon. A brilliant explosion erupted, scattering debris across space. The flagship's cannon shattered into glowing fragments. The shield dimmed dangerously, but it held. The command deck erupted in cheers. We did it. They can't fire again. The flagship is damaged. Elder Saru wiped tears from his eyes. You protected us. Even when the galaxy turned against us. You protected us. Lyra smiled, exhausted but proud. We protect our own. With their cannon destroyed and their fleets confused, the Concord leaders had no choice. Their authority was broken. Their lies exposed. Messages poured in. We demand investigation. We no longer recognize the plague orders. Release the Vescari from all accusations. And finally, the most important message came from a Concord Council vote. The Vescari are cleared of all charges. Their exile is ended. Their worlds will be restored to them. Elder Saru sank into a chair, overwhelmed. Dr. Miles smiled warmly. Yes, and no one will stop you now. Lyra placed a hand on Saru's shoulder. Humanity will escort you, to make sure your homecoming is safe. Saru nodded gratefully. We would be honored. Weeks later, a mixed human Vescari fleet approached the Vescari homeworld. Its oceans shimmered blue-green once again. The toxic clouds left behind by the engineered plague were being cleaned by automated drones humanity had provided. The first Vescari who stepped onto the planet's soil felt the warm wind on their skin and cried. Children ran across fields they had never seen before. Families prayed, held each other, and touched the ground as if it were a long-lost friend. Commander Lyra Holt stood with Elder Saru on a hill overlooking the restored city. Your people are home, Lyra said softly. Saru turned to her, eyes full of gratitude. Because of you. Because humanity did what no one else dared. Lyra looked at the rising sun. The galaxy turned you away. But humanity knows what it means to suffer. To start small. To fight for every bit of respect. She smiled. We understand what it means to be cast out. Saru bowed deeply. From today onward, the Vescari will never forget humanity's courage. And from today onward, Lyra said, extending her hand, our species stand together. Saru took her hand firmly. Together, above them, two flags flew side by side, one human, one Vescari as light filled the sky. Humanity had welcomed the cast out, and in doing so, they changed the galaxy forever.